Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing? Oh, come
Hello.
on. You got to be louder than that. This is music, you guys. Come on. Let's hear it one more time. How's everyone doing? Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, my name is Paula Reina. I am the founder and CEO of Audio Chain. We are a music sync licensing and sample clearance blockchain company connected with rights management as well. And that's what we do. We've been around. We've been in development since 2016, and we're going to be launching in the fall. Thank you so much.
Hey guys, I'm Sean Gardner. I'm here from Sydney, Australia. I've been working at the intersection of blockchain and crypto and music since 2017. We launched a platform called Emanate in 2019, which is a collaboration and streaming platform which makes real-time payments to artists as music is streamed. We launched an update to that platform about 2 months ago, which integrates NFTs. So you can collect NFT music and treat it like you do on Spotify, make playlists, share artists, follow artists, and that sort of thing. And then tonight at the Brooklyn Mirage, we're launching our Motor DAO music NFT standards with Deadmau5, Nero, Noizu, Brux, Daniel Allen. And it's going to be a pretty wild party. Everyone's welcome. I'm sure you're all holding some sort of NFT or whatever that can get you in. And yeah, excited to talk about ownership and music rights because that's everything that we've been dealing with in the lead up to this launch.
Thank you, Sean. And my name is Michel, and I'm the CEO and founder of Another Block. We're a Stockholm-based platform that allows you to buy ownership in real songs. And we work with artists, producers, songwriters, and it's all about basically getting the best catalog possible out there so that normal people and music lovers can actually build their own catalog with recognizable and big songs. And we're launching in September, and the plan is to basically create an open market for music rights. Because we think that if we manage to do that, us and other platforms, that's when, music will get valued properly as it should. And it will also allow for artists to go directly to their fans if they want to create something. So yeah, excited to be on this panel too. And we're going to talk about, different questions within music rights.
So I actually, we were talking earlier, and one of the things that came up was a question that many might not like, but I think is a realistic question, and that is, will the SEC look into NFTs as a security? Why or why not? So do you want to kind of go into that aspect of things?
You can start.
Anything can happen. Obviously everyone has seen what's going on in the crypto industry right now. Regulations are coming in, not just with the SEC, but with the IRS and taxes and all that great stuff, right? But because of that, they're also looking into the NFTs because of different situations that are happening right now with the NFTs, right? One of those is it a security? I personally do not think NFTs are securities. It's called a non-fungible token for a reason. And usually those tokens that are based on that blockchain ecosystem are utility tokens. So there could be a fine line there when it comes to the SEC, more so because of their education and knowledge when it comes to this aspect. So I think that education from them needs to start first, as opposed to flagging every single NFT that's around right now.
And I think from our perspective, we're based in Europe, so there are EU laws and everything. So I think it's very difficult on different markets how things are classified. And from our perspective, we have a legal team. We try to do everything the right way. But when you're breaking new ground, like we all are, and a lot of companies that are here are, there aren't really any guidelines to work with. So so I think we're waiting to see how we're going to be classified. I think that we're open to any version of it, because if it would be something that is considered a security, obviously there would be a lot of things we need to comply with. But again, it might also clean the space, and it would be a lot of more serious players. So quite welcome to either way. But right now, we're in the gray zone, and I think we're quite comfortable with that at this point, just to get the product out there.
Sean?
Yeah, I think you can't say definitively an NFT is a security or isn't a security, because it's just a technology and what it represents is what's important. If you're selling a song and the NFT just represents a copy of that song, then it's definitely not a security because it's not delivering you any, revenue or anything like that. But then if it does represent a fractional piece of a song and it can deliver you some revenue through that, then maybe it is, but it's incredibly complex because every single country is different, as you touched along. And, this decentralized Web3 ecosystem, you don't know where someone is buying something from or where it's being sold from, or if the people selling it even have an entity that's based in a country. Yeah. So that's all really complex to unpack, and it's interesting to see which way it goes. But it's important that buyers kind of know what they're buying. Are they buying just a copy of a song that's like a collectible, or are they buying a fraction of a song?
Exactly. I think for us that's the most important piece, is to really explain what people are buying and what to expect from it. So in our case, they're obviously buying a real piece of the song, so they are going to receive royalties when they're streamed on Spotify or Apple Music. But it's all about managing that expectation and doing it the right way, so that nobody's disappointed when they get the NFT.
I think education, as all of you guys are here learning about this space, this is the first step, especially if you're in the music industry and not knowing. I know that in 2020, when the NFT craze kind of took off, more so than before, a lot of people were giving away their rights on OpenSea, not understanding that they were transferring their ownership or rights at the same time. So that is something that we've talked about before, just in general and together, that having that aspect of knowledge and information is really important, because this is a new ecosystem. Yeah. Like Sean was saying, it can go either way, but it's making sure that you guys are aware of how this is going to pan out, and that means following the industry, researching yourselves, getting that knowledge, because it keeps changing, and who knows what's going to come up after that.
And on the subject of education, everybody who is into music and understands music, it's a very complex legal landscape. Like, there's the publishing rights, there's the master side, there's so many parts to this. And I think that, many of the initial products that were out there, when people thought they were buying something that they owned, maybe they just owned that NFT on the blockchain, but it wasn't really connected to the real world. So I think that the difficult part for us now, for instance, is, it is an NFT, like we're building it on Ethereum, but should we mention that it is an NFT? Because maybe then people will not understand that it's actually real music rights we're connecting them to. So I think it's, it's an education piece of work, but also it taps into, what words to use in order to brand it the right way.
That's interesting. Like, you talk about the master side and the publishing side. I don't know if people have got energy to put hands up, but are there any artists out here that are like here to educate themselves around what they can do with NFTs? Any musicians? Yeah, it's pretty bright. It looks like there's at least like 5 or 6. And of you, are you holding your rights on both sides, your master and your recording side? Like, keep your hands up. Yeah. Okay. That's just, I think that's so important. Like, this has been talked about for a really long time now, well before NFTs came along. But it's becoming even more important, because if you're not the owner of like both sides of the music, it's going to be really hard to start selling stuff legitimately as an NFT. And even if you are, you've probably already signed off your digital collection rights to a PRO. So there's really interesting discussions starting to come up around the collection of royalty through digital means, and artists who, even if they own their rights on both sides, they've signed those collection rights over to other agencies. And those agencies aren't used to operating globally either. So you're kind of really breaking new ground, but everyone's open to discussing it, I'm finding. Yeah. Like, you guys must be dealing with that as well.
We're dealing so much with labels, and it's obviously so much more easy to work with somebody who owns the rights. In our case, you don't need to own all of the rights. It's enough that you own, a fraction of it, or a portion that we can then, fractionalize on the platform. But again, they need to get an okay from different parties. Often, they're not recouped, which is a new term if you're not from the music industry, where basically the label can put in, dinners or music recording videos. They basically put it on your recoupment. So every time you check how far you are away from being fully recouped on your track, it can change over time as well. So I think that, what we're all doing now is showing future artists as well, like what the value of their points are. because and that taps into the next question that I want to ask you guys too, is what is the role of the future for labels when it comes to owning rights? Will they do it in the future?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think they're going to go away anytime soon. For me, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but the music industry, the labels are very slow to adapt in technology. If I lived in a time when streaming and MP3s, file sharing, and then in the late 90s, 2000s, early 2000s came along, and the labels were just slamming it down, like, this is not going to happen, this is not going to go anywhere. And music stores too, they came, and the MP3s came and completely shut down everything. The record store started shutting down. So that takes me to now. Some are starting to finally get into it. And just let me put this out there: NFTs are not new. They've been around for almost 7-8 years. But it wasn't until 2017 when the 721 smart contract was finally created as a standard, and OpenSea came along, right? So now the labels are starting to see the movement, and now they're getting into it. But exactly what you just mentioned, are they going to get into the music rights aspect? Because right now they're concentrating more on the selling part, because there is not another block. There is not an audio chain supposedly yet to facilitate what they need to, but it's coming, and that's why we are here. Yeah. We're all trying to change the music industry in a sense where it's going to make it better. We could partner with them, of course, but it's up to them if they want to come to this side, because that will entail you, the artist, having more control.
Yeah, I think it's really, really interesting where it's headed, and there are lots of forward-thinking label managers that are willing to start looking at their business models in different ways. But the interesting thing for us was when we launched this real-time payment engine in 2019, and every single payment went through as you streamed music every 6 seconds. And then obviously if you're doing that, you have to split it as well. So then you're splitting the revenue between the different parties that are owed money from a stream. And it goes straight into those wallets. That immediately breaks the business model of most record labels who want to sit on the revenue for a month while they do their marketing and they do their recoup and everything. And so what we're starting to talk about now is if a label normally does a 50-50 deal with an artist as a standard sort of deal, then they're looking at Web3 revenue and going, okay, we want to embrace this artist to work directly with their superfans. We want to embrace this artist to generate these new forms of revenue. So let's not sit on that Web3 revenue. Let's not take 50% of it. Let's take 20% of it, because we have to do less marketing, less admin. It's all automated. And we'll still run our traditional business model for streaming and everything else that's kind of going along with the promotion of a song. And I hope that that's where it's headed, because there's no reason why artists should ever have to be held back. And I think if labels can't embrace a framework, something like that, they're probably going to get left behind.
Yeah. I think that I hope it turns out like that, but I think that as more money goes into the NFT space, they're gonna enter it as well. Yeah. But I've seen that when you look at the major labels, they're often very excited about the NFT world and what's happening, but it's more in terms of they have the rights. On one side, it's safe, they get the revenue, and then they can experiment on this other side and get new revenue. So it's more difficult for them to interact with the actual rights, because then they actually need to let go of something and let go of some control. But I hope that if we have an open platform where you can buy and sell music rights, what I hope is, at least for an artist that has a little bit of a following, is that you can start off maybe your project by selling a bit of your rights, maybe 10% instead of 50%. And then you take that money and then you just go to a label and pay for marketing services. And they never even touch your rights. That would even be, the optimal situation, I would say.
Yeah, if you really look and break down the traditional legacy system, I used to work for Def Jam and Interscope Records, and it's pretty much a marketing machine. It's a PR machine. That is all a record label is. They're in the business to sell records.
It's a bank as well.
And the way that they do that is through marketing your image, your name and likeness. And I think that's something that is changing, like you mentioned, because now you have, independent artists getting into the NFT space, having, everything, done themselves, or a little team that they might have. But if you combine the two, and there's a medium there that it could have happened. But, that's kind of like my thought, when it comes to, what if that would have happened.
Yeah.
I think that kind of leads into the question that I raised when we were preparing a little bit for this, which is, like, when I try and look forward and see where this is all headed, I think there's three different things that are going to happen. One is that the existing music industry structures will adopt some blockchain aspects and some NFT aspects into their completely usual processes, just in the way that technology is normally adopted, right? In the same way that they adopted internet and whatever else. The other direction, which is at the other end of the spectrum, is where we are now, where there's this small kind of microcosm of the music industry that does its own thing and doesn't really have any dependency on the legacy industry structure. And then there's something in the middle where these two parts kind of interoperate. And that's where things can get tricky, but I think that's where it needs to be all worked out. Yeah. So I just wanted to see what your perspective was on those three paradigms. Which ones excite you? Which ones you're most interested in? And if you had to bet, like, where in that spectrum would we land in 5 years from now?
Yeah, really good question. I would say that, like, the most interesting part for me is where the actual users are today. So the actual users, they stream, they listen to the music, and I think that this technology that we're working on now is so good for actually defining ownership. So in my case and in our case, like, I'm really excited about the projects that are trying to bridge the two worlds. I think it's a longer bet to create a parallel world that, in turn will become bigger than the usual one. So yeah, I get more excited by projects that try to tap into the existing music consumers and try to give them something new or extra.
I kind of agree with that, definitely. I think like I said before, there's got to be some kind of an understanding or medium eventually, because technology is going to move whether we want it or not. And these labels, as you see already, they are starting to move in. But there will be, mediums in between that, will have the decentralized part of the blockchain and NFTs, and also the traditional system that will have to kind of marry one another, right? Like, you talked about EMI, CSAT, might, maybe build something of their own, might partner up with, you and myself to facilitate collecting those royalties, with sync licensing or anything else. I think, to answer your question, I'd like to see some kind of that is more robust in the future, as opposed to just saying, no, we're going to just use a little. I would really like more of a connectivity.
Yeah. But also, like, it's interesting to, obviously there's new technology that we're working with here, but what are working today that we need to change? And like the audio experience of listening and streaming, it's, to me, I think it's quite get everything for. So, like, that's not change at this point. What about yourself?
Yeah, consuming and access can't get any cheaper. So, like, when you kind of think about innovation, it's going to go towards getting cheaper and easier. If anything, that will just basically become free. The artists will be focusing on fans through other ways. Yeah. But I think our projects that I work on is more on digital collectible music that doesn't necessarily have any music rights. But I think there's interesting things about owning a small piece of a song that you most about to just kind of see whether our track.
I mean, to me, it would be more of a cool thing to have your own catalog, to be able to talk about it. The financial part, like, I'm an MBA, business MBA, so, like, I obviously see the value in it as well as a really good investment. But to me, it's more like collecting art, or like having something and hearing a song on the radio and just knowing it's your song,
Yeah.
I think we're running out of time. We definitely ran out of time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for hearing us, and hopefully you can connect with us. And do you want to give your your link or anything?
No, yeah, it's all good. Motor.audio/NYC. Come to the Brooklyn Mirage tonight. You'll be able to get in. It's going to be good. Thanks.
Okay. Versus audiochain.io.
And anothertheblock.io. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right on. Awesome. Brooklyn Mirage. Great venue. Great venue. I love it. Love it.